Hello and welcome back to the GB Fantasy Football channel. In today's video, it's going to be my final thoughts ahead of the Game Week 21 deadline, covering the biggest price rise in assets, the most up-to-date team news, and finishing off the video with my final thoughts on my team plans and transfers. Now, thank you very much for the support on the previous episodes. It's greatly appreciated. If you could smash the subscribe button, we're on the road to 1,500. That would be massively helpful. Now, without further ado, let's crack on with the video. As mentioned in the introduction, the three things we will be covering in today's video are the biggest price rise in assets, my transfer plans and team plans towards the back end of the video. But first up, it will be the injury news and team news going into Game Week 21. Once again, we are very, very close now to 1,500 subscribers on the channel. If you could go down below, smash the button, it would be massively appreciated. Also, hit the hype points as well to push out the content to all Dream Team players. So first up, transfer news plans, and more importantly, how the teams are going to be lining up ahead of the weekend, those injury-related news articles. Arsenal up first. Hincapié could be back for the weekend. Now, this is more towards the fullbacks. Miles Lewis-Skelly, he played the other day against Inter Milan. He did all right, but he's not really in favour at the minute with Arsenal. Ben White and Timber have been playing at the fullbacks. Calafiori also, we believe, is not too far away, so that could potentially take some minutes off Timber in the near future. You could have Ben White on one side, Calafiori or Hincapié on the other. It's also something to note with regards to Arsenal's FA Cup game against Wigan. I do believe the back four, if players are fit for them, will be Ben White, more than likely Mosquera, probably Hincapié and Miles Lewis-Skelly, so it means that none of the normal back four will have to deputise in that game, so they could be back very soon. On to Manchester City. Diaz and Gavardio remain out. We've seen what their defence is like without them. Very shaky. Also, Roger will be banned for the Galatasaray game next game week, so stay away from him if he was going to go there. It does look like a shining light, though. Mark Guéhi could make his debut at the weekend at home to Wolves. Can't still play in the Champions League game, so probably stay away from him as well, even though he will become a pretty decent asset for Man City going forward. Over to Newcastle, a very good result in the Champions League last night against PSV, 3-0, but it did come at a cost. Bruno Guimaraes going off just before half-time, took a knock to his ankle. They're hopeful it's nothing too major, but with Eddie Howe and these press conferences, we know we don't get too much from him. For reference, this is being recorded before the Europa League games on Thursday, so there's a lot of press conferences still to come. More information. Of course, managers, as we said, with regards to Eddie Howe, they do keep that stuff back. It's not ideal for us. And it did look like Bruno Guimaraes was struggling quite a bit on that ankle just to run, let alone anything else. I think he's going to be a major doubt for the weekend, and that has put a little bit of a spanner in the works with regards to my transfer plans, but we'll get onto that a little later on. Jacob Murphy is also still struggling with his injury problem, so he might not make it for Game Week 21 either. On to Chelsea, there's a lot going on over there at Stamford Bridge. Jorgensen, the goalkeeper, he started last night, didn't play the full game, came off at half time with an injury. Sanchez came on and Rosinha has come out and said something has been picked up, and that's all he's given us injury wise, so he might be out for a little while. Cole Palmer picked up a small muscle strain, so he wasn't even in the squad at all last night for the Champions League fixture. Once again, proving he can't be a reliable asset on Sun Dream Team, despite us all wanting him to be. Of course, when he is available on the game, he's scoring points, he's on penalties, he is very creative, but he's just not able to play more than 2 or 3 games in a string of fixtures together. And for that reason, I'm not going to be going there anytime soon. Reece James was taken off at half time. That was just a minutes management thing. So for those of you who do have him, he should still be fit and available for the weekend. And Tosin will be out for a few weeks with a hamstring injury as well. So lots of injuries at Stamford Bridge, lots of rotation as well. The minutes management thing going on over there just means for once again in another season, similar to how it was last year where they was rotating in the Conference League, it looks like Chelsea assets, well, at least not all of them, are able to go to for our teams, unfortunately. For Tottenham, Mickey van der Ven comes back from suspension. He was banned for the Borussia Dortmund game in midweek. There was no injury there. And also Lucas Bergvall picked up an injury in midweek, and it looks like he will be out for a little while as well. Not too sure on the time scale or timeline for that one. And finally, over to Crystal Palace. It's not all doom and gloom. Yes, Munoz could be back for the weekend. The fly-in fullback, It seems a long, long time since he was in our teams. That Palace side, when he was last there, had Mark Gay, Mateta, Wharton. The manager looked stable at the helm. This time when he's coming back, yes, Glasner could stay in charge till the end of the season, but it looks like Mateta could be going Aston Villa. Mark Gay has, of course, already gone to Manchester City and have yet to bring any reinforcements into that Palace side. So their squad is even thinner than before. But Munoz, as an asset, we saw what he could do on the game. He's still one of the most high scoring players defensive wise, and he's been out for what is it, between 4 and 6 game weeks, something like that. So for him to come back against Chelsea at the weekend, get some minutes in his legs, it could be a player that we're all looking towards for game week 22 and onwards. So that is the roundup of the team news. Moving on to the highest price rising assets of the week so far. As I mentioned, this is being recorded before the Thursday fixtures, so some prices are due to change. Once again, rotation is not enabling us to bring in those 0.3 rises as much as we'd like. People getting minutes taken off them, coming on towards the back end of games, potentially affecting their highest rising assets. It's not ideal, but we're going to have to deal with what we're being dealt at the minute. So first up, Gabriel Jesus got 2 goals in the Champions League game away to Inter Milan. I've had a few comments on the previous video. Go check that out. We did discuss the data and trends with regards to game week 13 to game week 20, and also discussing how the season is lining up this season compared to the 24-25 campaign on Sun Dream Team. But I've had a few comments in the comment section down below about Gabriel Jesus as a 1-week punt against Karat Almaty. Yes, I do think he will start. For me, in that Arsenal side against Karat, you'll probably have Kepa in goal. You'll have Ben White, probably Mosquera, Hincapié, Lewis Skelly, so similar to the back four we mentioned with regards to playing Wigan in a couple of weeks' time. Norgard, Eze, and probably Kai Havertz in midfield. Then up front, I'd be surprised if Saka plays, so it'd be Madueke, Gabriel Jesus, and more than likely Martinelli. Obviously, that is injury permitted, but that will be the team that I think will play that fixture. Arsenal have managed to put themselves in a very luxurious position where lots of other teams in the Champions League and across Europe need a victory in that final game. So they're going to have to put out their full squads. Arsenal, they just need a draw to top the Champions League group. So hopefully a lot of rest for those main players. But Jesus, I do think will start that one. Over to Chelsea, Trevor Chalobah didn't play against Paphos in the Champions League, so 0.3 rise is scheduled for him. Also, Malo Gusto, player that has done really well over the season, but has been a little bit of a conundrum. Plays the majority of fixtures, but when Reece James gets shifted to right back, he is normally the one that misses out. Over to Nottingham Forest, Matt Sells and Milenkovic rising, potentially 0.3. Of course, this is being recorded before Forest play in the Europa League. So if any of them two players, and I do expect Matt Sells to play in that one, especially with that injury issue to, I think it's Jonathan Victor or John Victor. So Matt Sells will play in goal in that one. So if they do keep a clean sheet, he will hold that 0.3 rise. Also, Milenkovic will potentially play as well. I know Forest need a victory to at least aid their Europa League progress. Over to Liverpool, Ryan Gravenberch did really well in the Champions League last night, scored exceptionally well. I think he got into double digits, 20 points for the game week as well, so he will be rising from 3.6 million to 3.9 million. Over to Newcastle, back-to-back clean sheets this week, at home in the Champions League to PSV and away to Wolves. Malik Chow, Lewis Hall, Kieran Trippier, all scheduled for 0.3 rises. Also, with Newcastle not having too many options at the back, they will continue to play. But with Aston Villa at home and PSG away in game week 21, is that really the fixture that you're going to be targeting for defensive assets? Maybe Lewis Hall is the anomaly out of them three, but for Kieran Trippier and Malik Chow away to PSG, it's going to be a hell of a task to keep a clean sheet in that one. Also, Aston Villa, really good form. It is at St James's Park, so that does have to be taken into consideration. But Aston Villa, they might be a bit thin on the ground injury-wise, but once again, you can't discount how good they've been this season. Over to Tottenham, and that's where we finish. Christian Romero and Destiny Udogie both scheduled to rise 0.3. Romero, I think, got back-to-back goals this week, so if you did have him, you've done exceptionally well. Udogie, once again, you've got Jed Spence who can play at left back. It looks like Pedro Porro has nailed down that right back position. There was a little bit of a time towards the start of the season, I believe it was, or at least the back end of last season when they was going for the Europa League, where Jed Spence was taking some minutes off them at right back. But to me, Porro, and then it's either Udogie or Spence at left back. So for me, out of them two, it would be Romero. I'd be picking more stable, lots more attacking threat. He is normally the target from corners, and he is quite prone, as we've seen this week, to getting on the score sheet as well. So leave a comment down below, and if any of these 0.3 potentially rising assets have caught your eye. Round out today's video, I will be covering my latest transfer thoughts ahead of the Game Week 21 deadline. Also a little recap on Game Week 20. I got 92 points, so a small drop from 530th to about 680th, but I still do have Morgan Rogers to play against Fenerbahce or Ferencvaros, I think it is, in the Europa League. So hopefully he does start. It looks like Aston Villa don't have too many options in that midfield, so maybe a few more points to be had there. But I was playing with 10 men the entire week. Matheus Nunes of Manchester City, a complete no-show. They didn't concede. Well, they did concede across both fixtures. They didn't keep a clean sheet, I was meant to say, against Man United or against Bodo Glimt. So at least there was something there. But it does provide a little bit of a conundrum going into Game Week 21. Also, Bruno Guimaraes came off at half-time in the PSV game in the Champions League. I don't think he will play that Aston Villa game now, and that has caused a little bit of a change in my transfer plans. I think they'll keep him back for the PSG tie because there's so much importance on it, and if they can get any minutes out of him, it will be for that fixture instead of the Aston Villa one. Across the board, as I said, I got 92 points in Game Week 20, so not too bad. Vicario has Burnley in this one and Eintracht Frankfurt, so pretty good potential for a clean sheet. Lewis Hall currently has my vice captaincy armband, but I'll get onto that in a little while. Aston Villa at home and PSG away. Matheus Nunes, I think he will be fit for these games. Wolves at home and Galatasaray at home. And for that reason, I'm actually going to keep him if he is fit. If we get definitive news in a Pep Guardiola press conference, that was a tongue twister, that he will be fit, he will stay, because as a combined double fixture, I don't think you get better this week, especially with so much on the line for Man City. They'll want to go strong in that Galatasaray game without Gavardio, without Diaz, without being able to call upon Mark Guehi. I do think they need the stability of Nunes in that fixture, and also with him being an ex-Wolves player, he'll want to get on the pitch on that one as well. So if we do get any realistic good news, he will stay. Gabriel, Man United at home, and Karat in the Champions League. I don't think he'll play the Champions League at all. He will definitely play the Man United one. He's not going to be moved on. There will be rotation across the Arsenal lads. Kusanov, once again, I think he plays the Wolves game, and I think he definitely plays the Galatasaray game with the lack of centre-back options available for that fixture. They can't even call upon Rodri to potentially drop back into that centre-back role because he is banned for that fixture. Ake might play at left centre half. Max Alane hasn't looked too great in the last couple of fixtures, so they might want to take him out of the firing line. Phil Foden, a player that I was planning to transfer out this week, I think that's going to be shelved a little bit. When you look across the board, how many players can we guarantee play and start both fixtures this game week? There's not many. With the vice captaincy on Lewis Hall, we'll get to him, as I said, in a little bit. He's one of the only few players I actually see playing both fixtures this game week. So Foden, he will play in that Galatasaray game. There's no doubt in my mind. They haven't got Semenyo to call upon. Guardiola was a little bit sheepish and a little bit mysterious with regards to his comments on Doku. He said he wasn't available, yet he was on the bench. So does that mean he's carrying an injury? Who knows on that front. Bernardo Silva will come back into the Man City side. He was suspended for the Champions League game. But to me, Foden plays a Galatasaray game, and if he even gets a cameo off the bench against Wolves, he could do some damage. Yes, he will go down a little bit in price, but from the last video that I actually made on him, they gave him a few extra PPM points and boosted him from 1 bonus point to 3 bonus points, so his price won't be as affected as it was when I first made the video. So I do think he will stay for 1 more week at least. Bukayo Saka, similar to Gabriel, I think he starts the Man United game. In fact, I'm 99% sure. There's a lot of debate whether or not he will. Arsenal can't draw another game in the Premier League. It's back-to-back 0-0s, and they'll want to get back on a winning run. By that time, I assume Man City would have beat Wolves and put more pressure on Arsenal, dropping the lead from 7 to 4 points. So Saka will play that one. He might get a cameo off the bench in the Champions League for Madueke, but that's the best you could hope for, unfortunately. Morgan Rogers, I think that's Red Bull Salzburg in the Europa League, and Newcastle away. Newcastle away, very tricky tie. Red Bull Salzburg, maybe Aston Villa have already done the business on Thursday night, so they could potentially rotate for their final fixture in the Europa League. That's still yet to be seen, but Morgan Rogers isn't going anywhere. Turkey, similar to Phil Foden. I think he'll play the Galatasaray game and start that one. Whether or not he'll start the Wolves one, it's still yet to be seen. I think one of them at the two will start. And as long as I've got them both in place, I don't think they're desperately needed to be transferred out this week. Also, Erling Haaland. Now, he is a bigger dilemma for me. He's currently got the armband on. He will start the Galatasaray game. And I think he'll start the Wolves game, but that's a 55-45 split. He hasn't scored in such a long time in open play. I think it's 8 games at least. But they need to win this Wolves fixture. They need to win the Galatasaray fixture. And every single game he's playing is a must-win for Manchester City at the minute. Their poor form isn't turning around at all. And I think if there's going to be a player that can get on the score sheet and can do good things, I think it's Erling Haaland, and he will fancy this fixture. And for that reason, he does get the armband. Mainly because, as I said with regards to Lewis Hall, when you look across my team as a whole, I can't guarantee any player on this page starting twice this game week at all. The best chance I've got of 2 players starting 2 fixtures that is Matheus Nunes, Kuzinov, Lewis Hall, or Erling Haaland. And that is similar to what we mentioned with regards to the data drive and stats thing on my video yesterday, or the data driven related content. It's the defensive assets that aren't getting rotated. And for that reason, yes, Lewis Hall does have the vice captaincy armband, but am I really going to go against Erling Haaland with 2 home fixtures for a Lewis Hall who has a PSG away fixture in the Champions League? I'm not too sure on that one, and that could be a huge rank destroyer. So currently, my transfer plans are only to take out Bruno Guimaraes. If we hear something in the press conference about Phil Foden or Matheus Nunes, they will also have to come out instead. Only 2 transfers, unfortunately, so someone will have to stay. Foden more than likely. I'm confident on Nunes getting a start in one of the 2. Probably 2 out of 2, but hopefully Pep gives us a little heads up on that one. Bruno Guimaraes, on the other hand, we've seen with Declan Rice the other week where there's swelling on his knee and he missed a few fixtures for Arsenal. I think that will be the same with Bruno Guimaraes. Lots of swelling on his ankle. Fairly swift turnaround Wednesday, Sunday, so only 3 or 4 days on that one. You won't see him in training, I don't believe. Maybe Friday at best. And the fixtures after that, I think they've got Man City away and Liverpool away in game week 22. So not fixtures that we want to be targeting anyway. And also with regards to Bruno Guimaraes, something to note, he's been picking up lots of bonus points recently, but with Kieran Trippier on the pitch, Bruno Guimaraes is not on corners anymore, so that is one less string to his bow. And for that reason, I'm going to be targeting either an Arsenal midfielder, Declan Rice. Yes, he is banned for that Champions League game, but I think he'll play the Man United game. Well, I'm confident he'll play the Man United game. And then a week after, he'll play the Premier League game, and then he'll also play the Chelsea game at the semi-final as well. So there's lots on the line. He'll play 3 out the next 4 fixtures, so Declan Rice is definitely a option. Looking at Chelsea, Cole Palmer was one I was debating. I've got the funds in the bank to bring in, but with such a swift turnaround and him constantly picking up niggles, I'm not too sure he is the best play. Ironically, I'd probably bring in Pedro Porro as well. I know he doesn't have a double in game week 22, but he's going to go up in price. But you can't play a 5-4-1 formation on Sun Dream Team for some reason, and I'm not too sure why that is. Maybe they knew ahead of time that the defenders were going to be the biggest point scorers. So currently, Bruno Guimaraes is going to come out. He will be replaced, with an Arsenal player or a Chelsea asset, whether that's Enzo, whether that's Declan Rice, whether that's Cole Palmer, if I really do want to go there. Or Pedro Neto is also a player that has come into a few points recently as well. No attacking options are catching my eye. Something to note from game week 20 to 21, I did go for Kuzinov over Ekitike. Ekitike got 6 points, Kuzinov got 5. I got away massively with that one. Kuzinov, no clean sheet, no bonus points. Sorry, he did get a bonus point in both games, but he missed out on 3 bonus points by 1 PPM mark in both fixtures. But I watched the highlights of the Liverpool game last night, and how Ekitike didn't come away with 10 to 15 points, I'll never know. A goal disallowed, he hit the post, he had one narrowly cleared off the line, I believe it was. You had a Salah header that was off target, he was offside in the end from an Ekitike cross, so that was a big, big, narrowly disappointment for those of you who do own him, but a big upside for me, and I'm glad to have Kuzinov in my team for this next game week. To leave a comment down below on what dilemmas you've got going into game week 21. Currently, I'm only planning on using 1 transfer. I think having an extra one in the bank going forward could be really useful, especially across game week 22 and onwards. Lots of rotation to be had as well. This is a big 10-minute segment, a lot of rambling, a lot of planning. Voice is starting to go. Now let's finish off the video with the outro. That 10-minute segment really did take it out of my voice. I've refreshed, I've replenished, I've had a drink. Thankfully, despite going all Sean Dyche towards the back end of that segment, the voice has recovered. Once again, leave a comment down below on what your biggest dilemmas are going into game week 21. I'm always down there in the comment section and I'll reply to 99.9% of them. So if you do have a dilemma, leave it down below and I'm sure lots of people, including myself, will get involved in the discussion. Hopefully I can carry over that one extra transfer and Morgan Rogers gets through that Europa League fixture on Thursday. That is the plan currently going into game week 21. Hopefully a few more points as well. I've been yo-yoing between 700th and 500th position in the leaderboards over the last few game weeks. So hopefully a good game week with 11 fit players out on the pitch and planning towards game week 22 and onwards can start taking shape. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Once again, smash the subscribe button down below. 1,500 subscribers. We're on the road to, we're so close. Hit the hype points as well. Let's push the content out to all Sun Dream Team players as well. Smash the notification bell down below so you don't miss an upload in your sub boxes. Sun Dream Team League down in the description below. Go join it. Over 500 people. You will appear in an episode in the future if you are in the top 10 for the week or overall in the season. All the socials, Instagram, X and TikTok as well. So thank you very much for watching today's video and you'll be seeing me in a new one very soon. Good luck for the weekend.